guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking all about macros and generally what consists within the term macros, as well as how you can track your own macros. Now before I start, this isn't for everyone. It's worked for me in the past, tracking my macros. It's not a necessity, you don't need to do it, but it is an option for you that's there so you can keep on track with the nutrients that you're consuming. So if you think this is something that is for you, then stay tuned. So macros is a short term for macronutrients. So this consists of proteins, fats and carbohydrates, which is the three main nutrients that you consume within your diet already. So there's nothing really more to it than that. That is basically what macronutrients is. Again, this is just like kind of the basics of going through with it and how you can track it. If this is your first time, then I hope this helps. I'm going to go in and talk a bit about each nutrient and what it does for the body, as well as going on to how you can track your macros. So firstly, we're talking about carbohydrates, which is one of the main nutrients that your body relies on for energy. So if you aren't consuming these, then I'll go on to many side effects that you will experience if you're not consuming enough carbohydrates within your diet. So carbohydrates generally helps with the nervous system, the maintenance of heart rate and the movement of skeletal muscle. So of course it does a lot for the body. Now of course we all know what carbohydrates are in, so such as bread, rice, pasta, the lot. There's so many. So it's important that you realise what types of carbohydrates that are better to consume. So there are two types that are under simple or complex. Simple carbohydrates are mainly based up within sugars, so this tends to make you feel not really that satisfied, and you will get hungry a lot easier eating these kind of foods that are under this category of carbohydrates. Now this type will tend to give you a boost of energy very quickly, but you will kind of wear it out and feel a lot more hungry than usual, so it won't fill you up, okay? So this is where you've got to keep in mind what carbohydrates are good to consume and keep you fuller for longer and what aren't. So complex carbohydrates is the type that you want to try and consume over the simple, as the complex one has actually more whole grains and fibre in it, which is really good for your digestive system, as well as it will keep you fuller for longer, so you'll generally feel more satisfied and you won't be constantly eating more than you need to be. Now, as I was saying earlier, if you do not consume enough carbohydrates, you will tend to face some consequences. So this will be many cravings, as you know, if in a day we've not had enough carbohydrates, this is when you'll have these major cravings, headaches, and just generally a lack of energy. Okay, so that is the first one out of three. So now we're going to be moving on to proteins and what they do for the body. So proteins' main function is to help growth and repair within many structures. It is also used to produce antibodies within the immune system, so it boosts your immune system and it will become a lot stronger. And of course we can get protein from both plant and animal based, depending on your dietary requirements. So either way you can still get your protein in no matter what. Foods you can get a high amount of protein would be eggs, certain lean meats, nuts, seeds, that kind of thing. There's so many now that you can choose from on how you can get your protein in. It is actually the same with carbohydrates. So they have two types of proteins, which are based under essential and non-essential. Okay, so it pretty much says it within the name. Non-essential we don't have to consume, as our body already makes it up, and essential is something that we have to consume in order for our bodies to function properly. Now there are general recommendations of A sedentary woman is 46 grams of protein per day, and for a sedentary man it is 56 grams per day. This could depend on your activity levels, your age, your physique, your muscle mass, and of course your current state of health. The best thing to do is try to calculate the amount of protein you should take in, as again it all depends, nothing's going to be the same, but the guidelines that I just gave you is based off a sedentary person who doesn't do a huge amount of exercise at all. Now going into fats, okay, so the third one. Now a lot of people, fats don't really have a great name just because of all these fad diets, and they've generally over the years they have a bad name. Now the only way that you are going to gain weight from fat is when you consume too much, okay? So this is another essential nutrients that our body needs in order to function properly. So fats can actually help with inflammation, blood cholesterol levels, and absorption of many vitamins such as vitamin A and K. Fats are split into 3 different sections. So we've got saturated, unsaturated, and trans fats, okay? A lot of people don't really look into these kind of things, so this is what this video is mainly for, to help you understand a bit more about these 3 main nutrients and how that can help within your diet. Now, saturated fats tend to be in room temperature as a solid kind of product, and this is mainly from an animal product. There's a bit of science for you. The fatty acids are linked to chains of carbon atoms which link to hydrogen and are a single bond. Unsaturated fats are more plant-based foods and are usually liquid-based within room temperature. And again, this is just pretty much the same thing with the scientific side of things. So this is actually, rather than single bond, it is double bond. And finally, trans fats. So these are actually made to be solid, so they are not naturally solid and kept at room temperature. These tend to be more fatty foods, very sugary. Okay, so now moving on to how you can track it. So generally with macros, you can track your own through like a calculation, but as a beginner, I would probably recommend downloading an app called MyFitnessPal. I recommend it to all my clients. I use it myself sometimes. That's pretty much the only app I would use because you can scan your foods with the label that it comes from the shop. Pay, I think it's Premier, and it can track your macros and tell you how many grams of fats, proteins and carbohydrates are in per meal. But if you do want to, calculate on your own, then if you are a bit unsure and you want to know, then feel free to pop a comment down below or give me a message at Aisha Create Personal Training on Instagram, as I am happy to help. I would just probably not promote it for beginners. It's very confusing on how to do it, especially if you've not learned of it before. So yeah, just make sure that you ask someone if you need a bit of help, because sometimes these calculations can be misled or miscalculated, and that's when you're going to be in trouble. Now, for those of you who don't know what FitnessPal is, I'll put the logo here, down here somewhere. It is really, really good. It actually sometimes comes up with facts on the main homepage. So an example would be like macros. They do a great beginner kind of introduction to macros. If you're looking to pay for Premier, it's only about, I think, £4 a month maybe. So if you're willing to pay that, then you can. If not, you can just use the app's completely free as the normal kind of section that you can use and track the calories and how many calories that you take in. The reason why I recommend doing this as a beginner is because you need to know how many calories you need to consume a day. So it's a bit much to take in when you're doing a calculation, and it's probably best to rely on this app that is very reliable. I wouldn't recommend it if it wasn't. So for those who are wondering your basic metabolic rate, if you're using the calculation, this is the main part of it. And the one thing you need to know as well is how many calories you consume per day. So it's not a necessity. A lot of people don't do it and they do really well within their performance, within their training. So it's not a must, but for those people who do want to know a bit more about it, then this video will hopefully give you a head start, and you can try and use MyFitnessPal, then build up to calculating your own if you're being really strict on it, unless you are going into a a competition, more kind of serious training. Then this is where you need it a bit more to get to where you want to be. But for those people who are thinking, oh god, I don't want to do that, but what if I don't get to my goals or whatever it may be, it's not the case whatsoever. If you're having a well-balanced diet and generally exercising a couple of times a week, then you're there, you're sorted. Just don't worry about if you have to track your macros or not. It's not a must. A lot of people don't. I personally don't a lot of the time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how active I've been, and that is when I tend to track my calories. If I'm not as active, this is when I'll track my calories a bit more. The main thing is just enjoy your food rather than worrying about how many calories you've consumed. Find more improved and more well-balanced options for you that really suit to those cravings, and this can generally help you rather than restricting yourself so much to the point that you feel awful and you just don't enjoy the process. Now, that is not what you want to be doing for yourself, and your body is just obviously not gonna do it either. So just enjoy the process and try and find that balance. Again, I said that this isn't the best thing for everyone. Some people don't find that it works for them just around their day, or they just generally don't enjoy it. So if you don't enjoy it, there's no need to worry. You generally don't need to track macros. This is just an idea for those people that are tracking macros. Well, it was short and sweet, but thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And yeah, I hope this video helped someone out there and I shall see you next week. Of course, as always, if there's any questions at all, comment down below or get in touch via Instagram at Aisha Craigie Personal Training.